because here we are,
Where's Sarah tapping out?
Yeah,
Where's she
here
tapping
we
out,
are
guys?
at another episode of At What Point Does Sarah Quit the Show?
Out for the...
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another fun-filled, fantastic foray into fennel-laced fun.
Fennel?
Isn't it a seed or a garnish?
Something.
Fun. Alliteration. Magical alliteration. Welcome back to Mostly Harmless with Matt and Sarah. I'm Matt.
I'm Sarah.
Together, we're mostly harmless.
Yes.
With a side of fries.
Speaking of a side of fries, you know who's not having fries? The contestants on The Biggest Loser.
The Biggest Loser.
We are covering Fit for TV, the reality of The Biggest Loser. I remember watching this show growing up. I didn't, apparently, habitually watch it because a lot of the people I'm like, didn't know who that person, like the Joelle gal, I don't remember.
See, I didn't watch
it
show.
Yeah.
At all. I only heard
Yeah.
minor references to it in pop culture or,
Yeah.
you know, the kids
Yeah.
chatting about it or the parents or something. I never watched it.
Yeah.
Not that I had a distaste for it. Not that I think I would have had a taste for it
Yeah.
either. It just wasn't my brand.
My big takeaway from this 3-part docuseries, it almost felt like kind of a nothing burger only because, go ahead.
You're 100% correct because we watched, so I did watch all 3 episodes with you.
Yeah.
But I
don't know what your attention level was.
Well, not even that.
throughout.
Usually when we're watching these things, the kids are going fucking nuts and I am just back and forth.
He
and
is the preferred parent.
especially if it is fucking stuff that really is not my cup of tea. I'm like, you just watch it and tell me about the good parts later. The whole first fucking episode of this show, and I said this to Sarah then, and I'm saying it again now. It was as if you had to, and I mean, maybe there are people who weren't aware there was a show called Biggest Loser that was a show about people losing weight. But all the first episode consisted of was The Biggest Loser was a show where a bunch of people got together and they had to lose weight. And they had to do all kinds of crazy stuff. And here's another guy to tell you about it. That's right, Bob. Yeah, The Biggest Loser was a show where people had to lose weight. But it was a bunch of confessionals. I wouldn't even be able to call them that because in the first episode, there wasn't even any like, oh my God, what's the big mystery? Because I'm waiting for the scandal. Because all the stuff when TV shows that we've been talking about and the stuff that when we come up with a show, usually it's like, turns out behind the scenes at The Biggest Loser, it was the #1 fentanyl distribution capital of the world. And it's like,
and
great.
Like, the biggest crime was caffeine pills on this show.
They were saying stuff to me, and just to wrap up that was like, the first episode to me was like, okay, I guess if you had no idea what this show was, you might have needed this episode. But in summation, episode 1 could have been an email.
Yeah. So for me, I actually, because I kind of live in the YouTube world of, I not only do I make YouTube content, but I consume a lot of YouTube content. And about maybe like a year or 2 years ago, you know, The Biggest Loser has been off the air.
It's been
for a while.
10+ years.
For a while.
Yeah.
But like about a year or 2 ago, some content creators started making videos about just how toxic the show was. And just kind of like some of the scandals that are talked about in the docuseries. Yeah. And so there was nothing, the one thing I will say that was surprising to me that I do want to talk about is this like metabolism issue, this like long lasting irreparable damage these people have to their metabolisms. Because I think that like that aspect of like the medical harm is something worth talking about. But like the rigorous workout schedule, the working out till you puke, we saw that on the show.
Right.
The mean trainer Jillian, we saw that on the show. All of us who have struggled with our weight know that you don't drop 100 pounds in 6 months by like moderate exercise and like moderate diet and exercise. Like
Right.
it takes extreme measures. So I don't think anyone was under an illusion that this necessarily was the healthiest way to go about weight loss. But I guess to the extent that it was unhealthy, maybe people didn't fully know. But as someone who also follows the scandals that surround shows like My 600-Pound Life and Intervention and some of the deaths that have occurred as a result, maybe not as a result of the show, but people, cast members who have appeared on the show who have lost their lives, and kind of what role did those shows play in that? There's actual like there could be some fuckery afoot there.
Right, but that's also a show that's coming at you, like 600-Pound Life as a prime example. That's coming at you from the standpoint of like, this person before this show even was conceived, their life has gone off the rails because of weight and eating issues and whatever caused those, which usually is some sort of, trauma, right? So those shows, if something happens, it's not like, oh, wow, that's a surprise. Like we get it. That this show is not exactly showing off the best of humanity in that situation. But the Biggest Loser is like, it kind of sold itself on, oh, you're the average everyday fat guy,
Well, so that's the thing is, and I remember this from when I watched it when it was airing in real time. The first season, the people were like 200 pounds, 250 pounds. They were
portly,
realistically fat, if that is
husky.
Well, just an everyday type of fat. Like a lot of people are that way. As the show goes on, we see these people getting bigger and bigger. And so
not the same people, the cast.
Yeah, but the weight loss numbers get bigger and bigger. People are losing more amount a week. They're losing more amount by the end of the show.
Right.
And so it's like and that's good for TV. But I remember, and they didn't really touch on this in the Netflix doc. But I do remember one of the accusations going around while the show was airing in real time is that people were basically pigging out, gorging themselves, binge eating to get on the show. And we saw some of these people's like audition tapes, like the one guy that auditioned like several times.
Right.
And it's like, people like really were trying to do the most to get on the show.
Yeah, that's not a show I'd really want to knock it out of the park to be on, But I guess if you're on it for everybody had to have been on it for the money, right? Because like, in the later seasons,
the money and also like the ability to have this environment where, so a lot of us that have struggled with our weight, when you remove yourself from temptation, put yourself in a controlled environment, you're under the tutelage of doctors and trainers and nutritionists, and everyone's mindset is on working out. That could be a very effective tool into kickstarting you into a healthy lifestyle.
Sure.
I really do feel like that was the underlying motivation for these people to go on the show, because at this time in the like 2010-ish era, The prize was $250,000. I mean, you could go on Survivor and the prize is $1 million. So like, I don't think anyone's like gorging themselves to get on Biggest Loser just to win $250,000. You could go on Jeopardy.
Yeah, I mean, they always, you look at it like if you had nothing else to do but work out, right? So you wonder how, like,
Which is what these people did.
Well, like, so, like, you look at someone like Rob McElhenney, who is now Rob Mack because he changed his name from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, from
Love the show. I don't understand
Wrexham, and all kinds of other shows. And he got super jacked. Now that's where he's living now. But at one point he got super fat. He did these actual things. And it's like, God, man, I wish I could get jacked like that real quick. And it's like, yeah, but that's his fucking job. An actor, a singer, those people have, like, that part of their job is spending their days working out and stuff like that. Whereas us normal humans who work a 9 to 5 have to squeeze in all that exercise in our free time. So it's like, yeah, of course it's easy when you see, like, Jonah Hill lost a shit ton of weight, like, oh man, that's so great. It's like, yeah, but when your job is your image all at the same time, it's so much easier. Well, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's more convenient, I guess, when it's like, hey, you have 6 months before this movie, we need you to shred weight and put on muscle. Okay, I'll hire a trainer and that'll be my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like, look at Marky Mark's routine. He gets up
like 4 a.m.
like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
He's got a crazy going on, and so, yeah. So, but that's their whole...
important to him.
Yeah, no, and then that's another thing is if you kind of make your lifestyle about it, I guess kind of deviating just from the general of like Biggest Loser, but just if you make your lifestyle about keeping yourself healthy, keeping you safe, and that's what you want to do, then it's easy because that's what you want to do. But most of us, we don't want to do it.
But those of us who, because on the other, what gives Matt and I kind of a unique maybe perspective on this is we both have recently lost about 100 pounds each. And it took us a year or more.
Yep.
Yeah, to lose that kind of weight. I have utilized weight loss shots, which I have an opinion about how they touched on that in this docuseries. But you have done it the old-fashioned way. So
I quit drinking.
Circling back to the doc, I saw two real bullet points that I felt like they were kind of wanting to get across to the viewer as like the biggest scandals of the show. And one was like the calorie restriction and the workout, right? Like the extreme working out combined with the extreme calorie restriction of the show that kind of produced these massive weight loss numbers. And central character throughout this doc is the show's doctor, Dr. Huizinga, who was one of the sports team's doctor.
Huizinga is a fucking awesome name for
It is
doctor.
pretty cool. Yeah, it is pretty cool.
I like my doctor, but if his name was Huizinga, that'd be fucking like the tops.
Yeah. But so he's kind of the voice of reason. And we see him say, these are the things I set out as like health guidelines for the contestants. And then this is how like the trainers came in and like fucked everything up. And like, we'll get to it at the end, but like Jillian Michaels' response, she is going like full scorched earth, and she is like about to sue everyone.
Well, and then in general, this is also another one of those shows where you have the doctor who's doing probably this at the best altruistically. I want to keep these people healthy. Then you have the trainers who are trying to do their job, right? And then you have the producers who are trying to make an entertaining show. And without strife and without conflict, there's no show. There's no budget, there's no money. So much like my time in The Bachelor, the amount of times you have these producers forcing shitty, uncomfortable situations, especially in a show that is specifically about your body and your looks.
Yeah.
That is toxic.
I remember I would talk with my mom, and both of us had said, because here we are, another
where's Sarah tapping out?
Yeah,
Where's she
here
tapping
we
out,
are
guys?
at another episode of At What Point Does Sarah Quit the Show? I would never go on a show that required me to do weigh-ins publicly in a bra and biker shorts.
Yeah. One of the things, since I've lost weight,
hard no for me there.
Since I like the number that's on the scale now, wouldn't mind it so much. But what I will say, on a completely just a weight loss level, I do step on the scale every day now, and it helps me kind of keep my shit balanced.
Yeah.
So I was afraid to step on the scale when I was 315 pounds. And now, as I step on it and I saw my numbers go down, and I get them to now where I'm like I've plateaued over the last few months, and it's like that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, I kind of like the scale now. But it's like, yeah, I like the scale when it's nice to me, much like I like my bank account when it's full of money, and I don't like it when it's not.
No, right. The other thing, so that's kind of a central theme, and that's going to come into play a little bit later when I really want to touch on the aftermath of The Biggest Loser and how I think virtually almost every contestant has gained the weight back. Like,
yeah, that one guy.
There really are very few success stories from The Biggest Loser. Like those sisters.
The sisters was the guy who, I think it was the guy who fought like hard to be on the show.
Who auditioned a bunch of times.
He looked bigger.
I think
now
he was bigger
than he was when he went on the show. And again, let's just cut this part out because we're talking about a show that's specifically about people's weight. So we're not body shaming.
No.
I just wanted you to know that.
Yeah.
But I am saying, I'm like, since we're specifically talking about it, you went on a show to lose weight and you're somehow heavier afterwards.
I think the biggest...
all, yeah.
Pardon. I think one of the biggest criticisms of the show was that I think one of the things there was lack of aftercare and just this environment, this lifestyle that was created for the show was 100% not sustainable.
Yep.
Sure, you could like damn near kill yourself and lose the weight, but the second you get home, you're back in the real world. It's almost like, you know how on The Bachelor, all of these highly romanticized hair and makeup, fancy dresses, fancy cities, like the relationship is at a 10, right? And then you get home to the real world and it's like, oh, this is your apartment? You know,
You're like a tennis instructor.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. But instead it's like, where's Bob? Who's cooking my meals? Who's telling me what to eat, what not to eat? Where's Jillian with my caffeine pills, apparently?
It's astounding that people from The Bachelor don't find lasting love.
Well, then the other part of the scandal of the show, like the other big takeaway I had was this whole, you would think we were talking about people doing like crack cocaine on the show, but no, people were taking
Black Beauties, baby.
We're taking caffeine pills.
That's I think one of the names for it was Black Beauties, were caffeine pills that truckers used to take to stay awake to do long haul truckies.
Oh, these were called, what were they called? Stackers or something? And anyways, Jillian's hardcore defending herself out there now.
She's hardcore about a lot of things.
She's just hardcore.
She's hardcore.
She's hardcore.
She got some opinions.
We're not going. This is not a political podcast. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But so she is hardcore defending her use of caffeine pills. I will say she is dropping receipts because one of the things was Dr. Hazanga was like, I said no caffeine on the set, like, that the contestants would have to do this caffeine free. And I was thinking, watching it, I'm like,
that sounds miserable.
I'm like, well, caffeine in and of itself is like not
suppressant.
well, it is what it is.
Right.
Like it's in coffee, it's in soda, it's in a lot of it's in chocolate. Anyways, I was just watching it thinking, I'm like, well, I don't know if caffeine in and of itself is problematic.
But you're not a doctor.
No.
A doctor with a fucking killer name.
Hard to believe.
Yep.
Not a doctor. I am not a professional anything.
Yep.
Maybe a professional bullshitter. I don't know. But so this doctor was like very anti-caffeine according to how he portrayed himself on the docuseries. But Jillian's dropping all these receipts about her like talking to him and producers and whatnot about providing these caffeine pills to the contestants. And she provided like, this was a grocery list I sent to Dr. Hazenga, and look at all the stuff that contains caffeine on there. So she's dropping receipts because her whole thing is that no. Like the trainers didn't come in and fuck it up for everyone. And we see on the show Jillian get called out for providing these caffeine pills to her team, and they like get penalized in one week. And she was essentially saying that what she was giving them was what I've never been a hardcore fitness guru person, really into working out.
Not a big CrossFit person.
But I am aware of that supplement, like that's considered pre-workout. That's what she was saying, essentially what she was giving. What I know as pre-workout is like stuff you mix into like water. It's like a powder.
It's like a protein powder.
But it's like an energy drink, essentially. Sure. That's what she was saying she was giving to these people.
All right.
Literally no other accusations beyond caffeine usage. So,
yeah, let's be real. There was no scandal with this show.
It wasn't steroids or something.
We have more to talk about, but like the long and the short of it is, this seemed like an expose that exposed nothing. Like, you can't,
or nothing that you didn't already know.
You knew
watching the show.
Yeah. You saw they recorded the sessions of these workouts, so you're like, oh,
you see the people throwing up on the treadmill,
right? So you're not like, oh my god, look what's happening behind the scenes. You're like, no, it's happening right fucking here. It's got to be the same all day. We're just not watching this for 24 hours a day. So again, it's just like, thank you for showing me something I already knew for 3 hours. Kind of felt like that for me. But we continue.
There was one contestant, and they briefly touched on her in the doc. She was the season 15 winner, Rachel. She won at just 105 pounds. She looked extremely thin
like emaciated thin.
So what they didn't really touch on was kind of the format of the show, and you never watched the show, so you're probably unfamiliar. So the way it works is they film you they have a ranch, like a workout. You all live together and work out together at this filming location for like a couple months. And then you go home and you continue to work out and lose weight at home. And then they bring you back, and it's like a final reveal, and you reveal yourself to your trainers, to the audience, to America, and hopefully you're the biggest loser, right?
Okay.
So, she makes it to the point where they send them home to like continue on their own, and she comes back and she is like shockingly thin. And you see, and I think Bob talks about how when she walks out, he and Jillian were just like, oh my God.
Oh,
like,
no.
So that kind of sparked a lot of controversy. I think the show only went on a couple more seasons. I think Jillian quit after that season. And she kind of, I've seen her do some interviews the last couple days, and she kind of has talked about it was like that Rachel winning and that whole experience that she kind of came to terms with the fact that she was contributing to this, like, or maybe not contributing, but like profiting off of like toxic diet culture.
Sure.
So
why do I also feel like she didn't participate in this documentary? She's very vocal right now. Why do I feel like she's working on her own documentary?
Oh, she might be. I don't know.
Like,
she, so I will say, growing up,
because she was more than just The Biggest Loser, right? Didn't she have her own stuff, or was that all she did?
No. Okay, so both her and Bob were personal trainers in Los Angeles, and that's how they got tapped for this show. There is one part that she highly contests that never happened, and it was the season 1 winner. His name was Ryan Benson. He was a voice. He did some acting, like commercial acting, and I think he like ended up voice acting. I could be wrong.
Oh yeah,
But
I think he said it was voice.
So he did the show. He wins. And during the season 1 finale, apparently he says that Jillian hugged him and said, "You just made me a millionaire." And she says, that never happened.
I bet it did, though. I bet it
Well, she was like, we were all mic'd up. You would have heard it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, honestly, that's not like the craziest thing to have said. The type of person you are, it's not like unbelievable that you would have said that.
Again, only from my knowledge in The Bachelor, one of the primary pillars of purity out there. But it is super plausible that absolutely was said. I heard people at that office, that production office, say shit like, akin to saying that they're gods for coming up with this fucking show. That's how much these big heads, these fucking people get. And you get to a finale of a show, you got all that jazz in you. We're finishing, we're wrapped. We got another couple seasons. You're the winner. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, you just made me a millionaire, bro. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, again, I don't have a problem with what she said. I do have a problem that if it did get said, not that anyone has any evidence to or against, only it's her word against his word. Like, whether it happened, just be like, hey, like, I didn't say that, but I'm not going to fight to the death about it. Because, again, it's innocuous, really.
Not hill to die.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you said something that realistically, it's like that guy, like, you got really excited.
You got really excited, yeah. If you have followed the show, if you have followed the contestants after the show, one of the things people have noticed is that nobody kept the weight off. I think The Bachelor has a higher success rate of people getting married and staying married. I think My 600-Pound Life has a higher success rate. I think Intervention has a higher success rate than what we see on The Biggest. I could be wrong about all of that. But the moral of the story, the point I'm trying to get across is that this show did not pump out people that changed their lives. Yeah. Or like they were trying to make good life choices and maybe they got home and were making good life choices, but something that I guess they were doing studies on.
I was going to say, what I will say is they made a life choice that turned into 3 months of consequences of that life choice, being forced to work out, be on TV, and blah, blah, blah. And then that choice came to its resolution, and then they continued to make their bad life choices.
Well, okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about I was like, I could watch a whole separate series on just this, and this was this phenomenon that they found. So scientific studies on former Biggest Loser contestants show that dramatic and rapid weight loss leads to substantial long-term reduction in resting metabolic rate, a phenomenon also known as persistent metabolic adaptation or metabolic damage. Research found that on average, contestants' metabolisms remained about 500 calories per day lower than expected even 6 years after the show ended, despite regaining much of the weight they lost. This means their bodies burned fewer calories than would be typical for their size, making weight maintenance extremely challenging.
Oof.
The more weight a contestant lost, the greater their long-term metabolism drop. So the winner that we saw, what was his name? Danny Cahill. He was the one who had auditioned multiple times and who appeared. He definitely, to me, looked bigger or as big as when he auditioned to be on the show. He was talking about like learning about this metabolic adaptation and finding out he was starting the day at like, just by waking up at like an 800 calorie deficit than like you or me.
Yeah.
So he would have to like burn 800 calories to be at 0.
Not a fan of that.
Yeah. So yeah, that does make weight loss or weight management extremely challenging.
Right.
So this little blurb that I copy pasted says experts now view this as evidence for the body's powerful biological defenses against sustained rapid weight loss, not simply a matter of psychological willpower. The findings call into question the safety and long-term effectiveness of extreme weight loss regimens like those promoted by The Biggest Loser.
All right.
So the other thing that I remember about this time in reality TV, so I'm like thinking,
What year are we talking about when it started?
I think 2017 is when it went off the air, but let me see.
I was in high school.
We were not in high school when it was 2017.
No, when it started.
2004.
Yeah, that sounds about
right. So yeah. It was on from 2004 to 2017, and I think they had 17 seasons or something like that.
Okay.
So, during this era of reality TV, there were shows like The Swan that was really popular. These like horrifically awful premised, bad faith reality shows that like completely would fuck with someone's mental health. So one of the there were two like showrunner, producer, creator people that were in this docuseries. And the one guy was saying like the intention behind the show was to showcase people changing their lives with diet and exercise. But of course, like, because the recommended amount of weight loss per week is like 1 to 2 pounds. Like, you go to your doctor and you say, I want to lose weight. They will tell you like to eat in a calorie deficit that would have you see 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss a week.
There's a difference between weight loss and rapid weight loss.
Yeah, because, and something that I've had to be mindful of with utilizing these I'm on Zepbound, is hair loss, getting enough protein, muscle loss, water intake. There's a gastrointestinal side effect. There's a lot that goes into...
Our pantry had so much fucking random protein shit in it. It's like, oh, look at this. Potato chips with fucking protein in them.
Those are disgusting, by the way.
Yeah, because they're potato chips with fucking protein in them. How could that sound good to you?
The protein chocolate's not bad.
Oh, look, I got this pasta with protein in it. No, you add a protein to the pasta. You don't put the protein in the pasta. Come on now. Like, oh, look, I got this water. It's got protein in it.
They make that now.
I know. I'm joking.
They make protein everything.
Oh, look, I just got a new book. It's got protein in it.
There is a lot.
There was a bit of an adjustment period.
Yes, there was. I still have a lot of liquid IV, though. But
that's electrolytes, though.
Yeah, but I found like good old-fashioned water is the way to go.
Pretty.
Also, you can overdo it on electrolytes because people
Electrolyte
that
toxicity.
People that aren't extreme athletes or working out like the Biggest Loser people, we don't need
so that
to replenish our electrolytes
and
in
protein
mass
and
like
protein. If you're taking in massive amounts of protein, like if you're morning, instead of having breakfast, you decide to have a protein shake, but you do not burn calories and like you break your proteins when you're working out and stuff like that, and they're replenished by the protein, like the powder and stuff like that.
We're not medical professionals. We're not personal trainers.
But
we're not nutritionists.
If you're eating an enormous amount of protein, like supplemental protein, so not just the protein, you have a bunch of chicken.
I don't know. You
can gain weight from that.
Well, so my doctor told me to eat basically like a gram of protein pretty much for like, I was shooting to get like 80 to 100 grams of protein a day.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's a lot of protein.
That's a lot of protein.
But when you're actively losing weight.
Right, so your whole thing was that your body was breaking your proteins down.
Yeah.
And you needed to replenish them. But if your body's not breaking down the proteins, as if you're not being super active, but you're like having a protein shake, you're just adding calories to your body. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful about like... and you don't need electrolytes if you're not burning through electrolytes.
I do love, like, some of the liquid IVs. They do slap. They're good. But I don't have them every day. And if I do have a liquid IV, I mix it with 2 bottles of water and I don't know how those tubes are supposed to go into 1 bottle of water. It's not even soluble. So sweet.
Like no, but you can pour it into a bottle of water. They say pour it into a bottle of water and shake it. But if it were completely soluble, it would be an empty bottle, like a cloudy bottle, right? Yeah. If you pour that in there, there's still like on the bottom, like it's not completely dissolved.
It takes a while for it to dissolve.
Which means to me it's not enough water, in my opinion. It should be enough to be completely dissolved.
Well, so I would mix that with 2, and then I would only have like 1 liquid.
And this is
IV.
our water conversation.
Our water conversation.
Welcome to our water corner.
It was a trip down memory lane for me. Also a little bit triggering, I'm not gonna lie, because growing up, I've talked about this before on the podcast, on Reality Squad. Growing up in the 90s.
90s was hella awesome.
In Southern California. I remember going with my mom when I was in elementary school to her Weight Watchers meetings with her. And I remember deciding I was going to follow along like on my own. Like I didn't join Weight Watchers as a child, but like I was going to track points and all this stuff with my mom. We were going to do it together. My mom and I have been dieting together my whole life. I think if you're especially a female in your 30s, you probably have thought about your weights for a significant part of your life, even if you're not overweight. It's always been kind of in our face. And I just think back to that time that The Biggest Loser was so popular. It was like one of the most popular TV shows. And then, we also had shows like The Swan and there was other ones too. That it was just totally centered around your looks and,
There was one show, it has nothing to do with looks, and I don't know, I think it was in 2005 or 2006, and I think it was My Big Fat Obnoxious Fiance. And it was a joke show, right? Because they were trying to convince the family that he... And I guess in the last episode of that show... Like he couldn't go. She was going to go through with it, but he couldn't go through with it because he felt so bad. I didn't
watch it, but I heard about it.
Like my friend's mom watched it whenever we were over the house, and it was like a funny it
was like if they could convince the family, they won the money.
Yeah, and so I think she won because the guy who was pretending to be this obnoxious person decided he couldn't go through with this marriage. But there was a wild west of reality television.
Now it's all variations of like
the same
dating
shit.
shows. Yeah.
I like the concept of trying to fool an entire family into thinking that you have the standards that this person is your one and only.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a cool thing. Not like not trying to genuinely convince America that the person, one of these 26 women is going to be your one and only.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we've shit on The Bachelor enough on this episode.
Somehow it always comes back to The Bachelor.
So many memories.
Final thoughts on Fit for TV?
I don't know. I genuinely think that this did not give me any additional information on the show, but I also didn't care about that show very much. I didn't really watch it growing up, but it did not provide any like scandal or anything that was like all the stuff that was revealed just seemed like, I get that sounds like what would happen on that show.
Aside from, because again, the show's been off the air for like 10 years at this point, almost 10 years at this point. We follow these people. We know that they've regained a lot of the people have regained the weight that they've lost, or a significant amount of the weight that they've lost. So that was not really that big of a bombshell. This really wasn't filled with that many bombshells. The most fascinating part for me that I would have liked covered more was the after health effects of the people that went on the show, this like resting metabolic damage and things like that, because could there be like culpability on the part of the show?
Well,
like,
but we'll never get that information.
Permanently disabling some people? I don't know.
Yeah, that would be interesting. It almost feels like you wrote the first book in a series of books, and then you decided to stop.
Yeah.
You left it up at a point where it might have gotten interesting because the scandal seemed to be like blooming. And then you were like, that's enough.
It seems like Jillian is now activated. So the next chapter might be playing out on like social media or maybe on YouTube. Out. Yeah. So stay tuned for that.
The court of public opinion will probably handle that one.
Well, she's dropping receipts. If I remember correctly, Bob was always like good cop to Jillian's bad cop. Jillian was like I'm going to break you down to build you up type. That she was like a boot camp instructor.
Drill sergeant.
Yes, exactly. But not, like, I don't know. Never anything like real. I guess she was like not very nice. I
don't know. I don't respond to negative.
Me neither. That's
reinforcement.
See, I'm more of like Bob was always more of the you got this, you go, and blah blah blah. And so it was interesting to see that woman Joelle, who like really fucking hates Bob, like be featured so heavily on the show, and then have Bob kind of take the brunt of like answering for like verbally mistreating contestants when that wasn't what he was known for. That was what Jillian was known for.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing, just to end on this, because this is where they ended in the series, is and what do you think about now Ozempic?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, pish posh, that's a fad, and we don't know, there's no way we could have studied these medicines long enough to know the long-term effects.
There's always some fucking person who just can't accept that there's an easier way to do something.
I think Joelle is either on GLP-1s or had done that, because she has lost and maintained a significant weight loss, and she's like, they're great, gave me back my like chance at life.
Yeah, all of a sudden these people who have no medical background will come out being
I think it was Dr. Hazinga that was like, this hasn't been studied long enough. I remember Dr. Now from My 600-Pound Life coming out and saying that GLP-1s are like pish posh or they're dangerous or whatever. Jillian Michaels.
Well,
is
they're
super-
dangerous to Dr. Now's career.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what they're dangerous
exactly.
to. But yeah, it's dangerous to their careers. That's
To
why.
the bottom line.
But it's like, it's funny because Stern hates these things. And it's like, it's something about that generation of people, like our parents' generation, just can't wrap their head around like, oh, there's an easy way to do it. Well, if I'm not sacrificing everything, then it's not real. It's not, couldn't possibly be good,
and
you know?
it's, why are we gatekeeping being thin and healthy?
Right.
Like,
and then the thoughts, oh, well, there's side effects for that. There's plenty of fucking side effects from being overweight, too. Like,
oh, there's way more.
yeah, like, so if you are a person who is having trouble losing weight, can't get around to exercise or whatever, and you decide to get a GLP-1, then fuck anyone who has something bad to say about it. It's like, guess what? Sorry, I'm taking a shot that's going to make my body less fucking stressed just by moving.
And again,
right,
not a doctor, but there are so many side benefits that I've found with like inflammation reduction and things like that. They're studying GLP-1s to help all the like sleep apnea and all these like side conditions that could be comorbidities with being obese.
So losing weight is good no matter how you lose weight. I'm like, God, you talk to your fucking doctor about it.
But not really, because we just talked about a way of losing weight that's extremely unhealthy.
Well, okay, right, okay, qualified. There's an exception to every rule. Anyways, we gotta go. Right. He's not on camera anymore, which means he's heading our way.
All right.
So we gotta get going. Guys, we have a backlog on the website. We've decided to get to a little bit more current events from what's going on now. We got I think another thing we want to talk about, but then we're going to go right back to our listener requests. So keep on sending those requests at www.level42studios.com on the contact page. Send us a line, send us an email, have some fun. Check out all of our shows, all the stuff we got on there. Hit us up at Do Mostly No Harm on all the social medias. And I don't know, Sarah, as always,
Do mostly.
no harm.
Bye, guys.